Did you know that most of your life is running on autopilot? Like 95% of your thoughts, action, and decision are controlled by your subconscious. And most of that programming isn't even yours. It's your parents, your teachers, society. So the question is, do you want to keep running the script or finally write your own? Because your subconscious doesn't care if you feed it lies or truth. It just obeys. It will build your entire life around whatever you give it. That can either be your biggest limitation or your greatest weapon. In this video, I will break down how your subconscious shapes your reality, how invisible beliefs become the cage you live in, and most importantly, how to reprogram it so that success, discipline, and confidence become automatic. So, grab your cup of coffee, because we are about to go deep into the subconscious, deep into the programming that built your reality, and deep into how you can finally take control of it. So most men think change is about trying harder. They stack habits, they set goals, they grind with willpower, and for a while it feels like it works. They wake up early, they hit the gym, they hustle, but slowly, almost without noticing, the gravity of their old life pulls them back. One missed workout becomes 1 week off. One scroll on Instagram turns into hour wasted. One I will start tomorrow becomes 6 months gone. If this feels familiar, it's not because you're lazy. It's not because you're weak. It's not because your goals were wrong. It's because you've been fighting the wrong enemy. Willpower is a temporary fuel. It burns hot, but it burns out. Your conscious mind, the part that listen to me right now, make up maybe 5% of your life. That's the part that says, I'm gonna change, I'm gonna be disciplined. But the other 95%, that's your subconscious. And it doesn't care what goals you set. It doesn't care how motivated you feel after a video. It doesn't care how many times you write down your resolution. Your subconscious runs your life on autopilot. Think of it like an operating system. You can open whatever apps you want, goals, motivation, habits. But if the OS is corrupted, everything eventually crashes back to default. That's why you relapse. That's why you cycle the same addictions, the same habits, the same frustrations. No matter how many fresh starts you promise yourself, here's what makes it darker. Your subconscious isn't natural. It's a program by your parents, your teachers, your culture, your environment. Every time someone told you you're lazy, you're not smart enough, you will never make it, your subconscious took notes. Every failure, every humiliation, it stole all of it. Over the years, it built an identity for you, the type of man you think you are. And your identity becomes your invisible ceiling. If deep down you believe I will never follow through, your mind will search for proof and you will sabotage yourself just to make it true. If you believe I don't deserve success, your mind will twist every moment to confirm it, and you will destroy it the moment you get close. If you believe I'm average, no wonder you will stay average, even while a part of you is screaming for more. That's why you feel like two men. One part of you wants to break free, the other drags you back into the mud. Self-help love to talk about habits. Stack your habits, track your habits, build discipline. But here's the truth. Habits growing out of identity. If your subconscious identity is poison, your habit will always bend back to match it. That's why a man can build a routine for 6 months, then lose it in 2 weeks. That's why diets don't stick. That's why a gym turns into a donation. That's why goals die in journals nobody reopen. Habits are branches and identity is the root. And your subconscious is the soil. Poisons the soil and nothing grows. Your subconscious doesn't care if the programming is good or bad. It only cares if it's familiar. That's why men stay trapped in cycles they hate. The pain of mediocrity feels safer than the risk of transformation. That voice in your head, just one more scroll, just one more drink, just one more tomorrow, that's not you. That's your subconscious protecting its territory. It clings to mediocrity because mediocrity is familiar and familiars feel safe. So let's be clear here. Your problem isn't bad habits. It's not distraction. It's not lack of discipline. The real enemy is your subconscious, the 95% of your life that runs without your permission. The invisible programming that keeps pulling you back into the man you swore you would stop being. Until you face that enemy, until you learn how to reprogram it, you will always fall back. You will keep fighting surface battles while the war is lost underground. If 95% of your life is being controlled by programming you didn't even choose. So the real question isn't how do I change my habits? The real question is how does the subconscious actually work? Because if you understand it, if you learn its language, you can stop being its prisoner. Then you can reprogram it, you can rebuild your identity, and you can finally become the man you were meant to be. But to do that, we need to go deeper. So let's strip back the layers and expose how this hidden machine inside you really operates. So in part 1, we exposed the problem. 95% of your life is being run by the subconscious. But now the question is, how does it actually work? Because if you don't understand the machine, you will stay trapped inside. So let's strip it open. Think about the first time you tied your shoes. Every step was conscious. Cross the laces, make the loop, put it through. Tie. Your brain was working hard just to keep track. But after enough repetitions, something changed. Now you can tie them while talking to a friend, planning your day, barely even looking down. You don't think about it anymore. That's autopilot. That's the subconscious at work. It takes repeated actions and stores them as automatic patterns, freeing your conscious to focus elsewhere. But this autopilot doesn't just run habits, it runs your emotion, your decisions, your beliefs about who you are. When someone criticizes you and you instantly feel shame, that's subconscious. When you see an opportunity but instantly think, I am not good enough, that's subconscious too. When you sabotage success because something feels off, that's subconscious, not just a muscle memory, it's identity memory. Where does all this programming come from? The most powerful stage is childhood. From birth to age 7, your brain runs in theta brain waves, the same frequency used in hypnosis. That's mean as a child, you lived in a constant state of download. No filters, no critical thinking, just pure observation. Your parents argue, download it. Your teacher yelling, sit down and shut up, download it. Your culture ideas of success, love, money, download it. And because kids can't rationalize, they don't separate truth from lies. Father said you will never be successful. Your subconscious recorded as fact. Kids laughed at you in a class. Your subconscious didn't say they're wrong. It said, I'm not enough. Bruce Lipton in The Biology of Belief calls the subconscious a tape recorder. It doesn't analyze, it just records and replays. By adulthood, you are not choosing your behaviors, you're replaying tips that were installed before you even had a choice. The subconscious doesn't care if it's true, it only cares about repetition. Tell yourself a lie often enough and the subconscious treats it as reality. That's why affirmations, even fake ones, work. That's why propaganda brainwashes nations. That's why people stay in abusive relationships telling themselves this is love. Daniel Kahneman in Think Fast and Slow calls this System 1, fast, automatic, emotional. Your conscious mind, System 2, is slower, logical, deliberate, but it's lazy. It only steps in when forced, which means most of the time you are not thinking, you're being taught. Your subconscious feeds your conscious mind beliefs and you act them out without question. Now let's anchor this in neuroscience. Neuroscientist Andrew Huberman explains that the brain is plastic, meaning it can literally rewire itself. How? Through repetition and emotion. Every time you repeat a thought or action, neurons fire together. And the timeless rule applies. Neurons that fire together wire together. The more they fire, the stronger the circuit becomes. That's why soldiers flinch at fireworks. Their brain-wired explosion equals danger. Even years later, the subconscious reacts instantly before logic can step in. That's why childhood criticism echoes in adulthood. If you were mugged up for speaking up, your brain linked expression with pain. So today when you want to share an idea, your subconscious slams the brake. Habits are built the same way. Cue, routine, reward. Repeat enough times and the loop gets burned into your nervous system. Scrolling TikTok or hitting the gym, your subconscious doesn't care. It will automate whatever you feed it. You know, I read a story a couple days ago and it's about a soldier returns from Afghanistan. Years later, safe at home, fireworks explode outside. Instantly he dives to the ground. Heart racing, body shaking. Logically he knows it's firework, but his subconscious doesn't care. It's still running the wartime program. Explosion equal death. That's PTSD, but really it's the subconscious doing its job, protecting him with old code. The problem is the context changed, but the program didn't. And the same things happen to you every day. You are not dodging bombs, but you're dodging opportunity, relationships, dreams, because your subconscious is still running program written years ago. Think of your subconscious like a thermostat. No matter how much heat you bump in, it drags the room back to its set point. Your identity, an invisible GPS. You can turn the wheel, but if the GPS is set to average, you will keep cycling back to mediocrity. A shadow, you can't outrun it. You can only shine light on it and integrate it. The subconscious doesn't update with logic. It updates with repetition and emotion. That's why trauma rewards intensely. The emotion is so intense. It burns the memory into the nervous system. And that's why daily habits shape identity. Repetition slowly rewires you permanently. It's also why lies, if repeated enough, becomes truth. So ask yourself, what's been repeated in your life? What words? What beliefs? What emotions? Because whether they're true or not, your subconscious doesn't care. It just obeys repetition. So now let's put it together. The subconscious runs your autopilot, stores childhood programming, doesn't care about truth, only repetition, shapes your habit, emotion, and identity, which means this: if you ignore it, you don't control your life. Your past does. Every decision you make is just old programming. Every habits you build collapse back into your identity. Every dreams you chase gets sabotaged by an invisible GPS. This is why man repeated the same cycle, living whole life blighted by ghosts. So here is the question. If subconscious programming runs 95% of your life, if it operates without truth, without permission, without mercy, what happens if you ignore it? What does a man's life look when he spent decades on autopilot, running broken code, repeating cycles until the day he dies? That's the danger we will explore in part 3. And by the way, if you're still here, that tells me that you actually care about your life. Most people click away in the first minute, but you're still watching. So drop a legend in the comment, because that's exactly who you are. Now back to the point. So let's be brutal honest here. What happens if you ignore your subconscious, if you keep muscling through life with surface level habits, while 95% of your brain drags you back into old patterns? You repeat the same cycles, you live the same years on repeat, you die with regret, wondering why nothing ever changed. Look at your own life. How many promises have you broken? This time I will stay consistent in the gym. This time I'm done with scrolling. This time I will focus on building my future. Weeks pass, distractions creep in, procrastination steals your time, habits pull you back to the baseline. That's the curse of ignoring the subconscious. You don't break cycle, you recycle them. It's not desire you want to change. It's not intelligence you know what to do. It's that your subconscious only runs what's familiar. Until you reprogram it, you will always relapse. Each relapse erodes your identity. Hit the snooze after saying you will wake up early. Your subconscious records, I don't keep promises. Waste the day scrolling after avoiding to focus. It records, I can't be trusted. Say you will change but you don't. It records, I am failure. Over time, those moments compound. You stop believing your own words. You become a man who doubts himself before he even tries. That's a tragedy. Once self-trust dies, a man is already defeated. In the 1980s, neuroscientist Benjamin Libet found that the brain registers decisions milliseconds before participants were even aware of them. That means the subconscious chooses first. The conscious mind only makes up a story after. Much of what we call free will is just subconscious programming. You think you are deciding, but you are acting out old script. Ignore this truth, and you are not just ignoring a hidden part of yourself. You are ignoring the part that makes most of your choices before you know they're made. This is what it feels like, going to bed knowing you betrayed yourself again, waking up heavy with unfulfilled potential, watching opportunities pass while you repeat yesterday's mistakes. Regret builds slowly. One wasted day becomes a wasted year, then decades is gone. That's the cost. You don't just waste time, you waste yourself. One day you will look back and realize you never lived your own story. Only programs handed down from parents, teachers, and society. Bronnie Ware, who worked with dying, said the number one regret was this: I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected. That's the cost. Dying without even meet the man you could have been. So ignoring your subconscious means repeating cycles, losing self-trust, living under an illusion of free will, and paying the price of regret. That's the hell most men accept. But here is the real question. If the subconscious is powerful enough to trap us, can it also set us free? The answer is yes. And that's what we will uncover next. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your identity. You can write become disciplined in a journal 100 times, but if your subconscious identity is I'm undisciplined, you will always relapse. You can set a goal to make 6-figure, but if your subconscious identity is I'm broke, you will sabotage the opportunity. Maxwell Maltz, in his legendary book Psycho-Cybernetics, I highly recommend you to read this book because it's a life changer. Anyways, call this the self-image. He was a plastic surgeon who noticed something strange. When he changed someone's face, their personality often changed too. The shy man with a scar suddenly walked with confidence once the scar was gone. But other patients, even after physical transformation, stayed insecure. Why? Because their subconscious self-image never shifted. It's not your goals, your willpower, or even your circumstance that decide your future. It's the picture you hold of yourself in your subconscious mind. That picture acts like a thermostat. You can push temporarily above or below it, but eventually you rest to whatever temperature your identity set at. This is why reprogramming matters. If you shift the self-image, everything else shifts with it. Now here's the science to back it up. For decades, people thought the brain was fixed after childhood, but neuroscience has proven that's false. Your brain is plastic. It can rewire itself at any age. Andrew Huberman explains this through neuroplasticity. Every thought, every action, every emotion wires new neural circuits, and neurons that fire together wire together. That means your identity is not a life sentence. It's a pattern of writing, and writing can be changed. The subconscious doesn't update through logic alone. You can't just say I'm confident and expect it to stick. To reprogram the subconscious, you need 3 ingredients: repetition, emotion, proof. That's how you override old programming and install new operating systems. Repetition, the language of the subconscious. The subconscious doesn't care about truth, it cares about repetition. That's why propaganda works. That's why childhood voice still echo. That's why trauma plays. But the same rules can work in your favor. Repeat a new story long enough and your subconscious begins to accept it. This is why affirmations, journaling, visualization, and even mantras work. Not because they magically manifest things, but because they slowly override the subconscious with new script. Think of it like carving a path through the forest. The first time is hard, the second time is a little easier. Eventually it becomes a trail, and if you keep walking it, it becomes the only route your mind takes. But repetition alone is slow. What accelerates the process is emotion. That's why traumatic moments rewire the subconscious instantly. The emotion is so intense it burns the memory into the nervous system. The same principle works positively. Pair repetition with strong emotion and the subconscious rewires faster. That's why visualization works best when you feel it, not just think it. That's why experiences of victory or breakthrough look in more powerful than theory. David Goggins in Can't Hurt Me describes how he forged a new identity through suffering. Every time he pushed past pain, his subconscious recorded a new story. I'm not weak, I don't quit, I am the man who does what others want. Through repetition and extreme emotion intensity, he rewires his self-image into one of the relentless strings. That's the principle. Emotion makes programming unforgettable, but if your subconscious sees no evidence, it won't fully accept the new identity. The subconscious is like a courtroom. Repetition and emotion are arguments, but proof is hard evidence that converts the jury. Proof comes from action. You prove to yourself who you are by what you do. Wake up early once and it's just motivation. Wake up early 50 times and your subconscious accepts I'm disciplined. Speak up once and it's luck. Speak up consistently and your subconscious accepts I'm confident. This is why the Stoic emphasize daily practice. Marcus Aurelius didn't write meditations to motivate himself once. He wrote it every day to rehearse new perspectives until they become his automatic response. Discipline to the Stoics was nothing mystical. It was simply the repetition of a chosen perspective until it becomes subconscious. When you combine repetition, emotion, and proof, you reprogram your subconscious, and that's reprogramming shifts your identity. That's the real power, because once identity shifts, habits follow. Once identity shifts, behavior follows. This is why trying to force change through willpower always fails. Willpower is fighting the subconscious. Reprogramming is enlisting the subconscious to fight for you. When your subconscious works against you, it chains you to mediocrity. When it works for you, it becomes rocket fuel. So no matter how deep your cycles are, no matter how broken your past, your subconscious is not permanent. You can rewrite, you can forge a new self-image. You can create an identity that pulls you toward greatness. Instead of sabotaging you, the same force that can chain you can free you. The same autopilot that trapped you can accelerate you. This raises the next question. If the subconscious can be programmed, how do you actually do it? What are the methods, what practices, what systems, what daily actions can take this knowledge and turn it into transformation? That's what we'll explore in the next part, because knowing the power is one thing, harnessing it, that's where the real change begins. We've talked about what the subconscious is. We've talked about how it runs your life, and we've talked about the power of reprogramming, the fact that you can change it. Now comes the question that matters. How do you actually take this invisible period operating system and rewire it so that it works for you instead of against you? This isn't about hype shit. It's not about repeating mantras mindlessly or hoping the universe delivers. This is about practical proven methods rooted in psychology, neuroscience, and lived experience. But here is the key. None of those tools work if you treat them like hacks. They only work when you commit it long enough for your subconscious to accept them as truths. So let's walk through the 5 pillars of subconscious reprogramming. So the first thing is awareness, catching the old code. You can't change what you can't see. Shining light on the hidden loops running in the background. Most people are trapped because they never notice their thought. They just live them. I always mess things up. Money is hard to get. Those aren't truths. They are old programs. The tools for awareness are simple but powerful. Journaling, write down recurring thoughts and fears. Meditation, sit and observe the mind. Self-inquiry, when you feel triggered, ask yourself, what story I'm believing right now? Neuroscientist Andrew Huberman explains it like this. The act of noticing a thought creates a gap. In that gap, you're no longer inside the loop. You are watching it. And in that gap is where choice lives. Without awareness, you're a puppet. With awareness, you hold the string. 2. Repetition and affirmation. Feeding the subconscious new code. The subconscious doesn't care about truths or lies. It cares about consistency and emotion. Whatever you repeat often enough, especially with feeling, it starts to accept as reality. That's why children believe their parents. That's why advertising works. That's why trauma imprints. This is where affirmations comes in, but not that cheesy kind. I'm a billionaire won't stick if you broke and desperate. Your subconscious will laugh. The key is alignment. Affirmation that stretch your identity without breaking believability. Like, I'm becoming disciplined, I handle challenges with strength, I am learning how to create wealth. Pair them with emotion. Say them after a workout, say them while visualizing success, say them in the mirror with full presence. Emotion is the glue that steals repetition into the subconscious. Think of it like training a muscle. One rep doesn't change much, but over weeks and months, the brain rewires to match the input. 3 is visualization and self-image. Living it before it's real. Maxwell Maltz discovered something powerful. The brain doesn't clearly distinguish between vividly imaged experiences and real ones. That's why athletes visualize before competition. It's why Navy SEALs mentally rehearse missions. Visualization rewires the self-image, and your self-image is the thermostat of your life. You don't rise above it. You don't fall below it. You live it out. Here is how to do it. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself living as the version of you that you want to become, not just result the feeling. See the details, your posture, your tone of voice, the environment around you. Do this daily. It builds a blueprint your subconscious tries to fulfill. But here is the key. Visualization without action is fantasy. Visualization plus action accelerates identity shift. 4 is environment and input. Surrounding shapes the subconscious. No matter how strong you think you are, your environment programs you. Spend time with people who complain and gossip, your subconscious absorb it. Scroll feeds of distraction and envy, your subconscious absorb it. The brain is a sponge. It soaks up whatever surrounded it. So reprogramming isn't just internal, it's environmental. Upgrade your circle. Even digitally, surround yourself with disciplined, ambitious voices and control your input. Books, podcasts, conversation, music, those are subconscious fuel. Garbage in, garbage out, wisdom in, strings out. Create your space, your room, your phone, your routines. All of them send signals to your subconscious about who you are. Epictetus is sad, guard your association carefully, because you become who you're around. Your subconscious becomes the average of your environment. 5 is action evidence. Acting as if until it becomes real. Subconscious doesn't just update through thoughts, it updates through proof. When you act differently, even in small ways, your subconscious takes notes. This is who I am now. That's why habits are powerful. Each workout, each disciplined choice, each courageous action, it's not just behavior. You don't need belief before action. Belief often follows action. David Goggins talked about this in Can't Hurt Me. He didn't believe he was a Navy SEAL at first, but he acted like the man who would survive the hell week. Each action was proof. Each day, the subconscious updated. This is why fake it till you make it works, but only if it's not pretending. It's about behaving in alignment with the identity you're building, even before it feels natural. The subconscious sees the proof, it rewrites the code, and eventually belief matches the behavior. Those methods aren't separate tricks, they are integrated. Awareness shows you the old code, repetition installs new lines, visualization makes it vivid, environment supports the change, action proves it to the system. Used together, they don't just change thoughts, they change identity. And that's the essence. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your subconscious identity. Reprogram that and you shift everything. When you live with the reprogrammed subconscious that actually programmed for success, life feels different at every level. Decision becomes easier because they align with who you are. Because it flows naturally from your identity. Opportunity appears not because the world changed, but because you did. And now you notice what was invisible before. This is the best to freedom, not escaping reality, but rewriting the lens through which you live it. We've covered a lot, so let's step back and bring it all together. Your subconscious is not some vague spiritual idea, it's the operating system of your life. It stores your beliefs, your patterns, your emotion defaults. It runs in the background, shaping 95% of what you do. We talked about what it is, how it works, why it matters. We saw the dangers of ignoring it, living in autopilot, repeating the same mistakes, running programs you never choose, and we walked through the tools to reprogram it. Awareness through journaling and meditation, repetition and affirmation, feeding it new instructions, visualization and self-image rehearse the future until it feels real. Environment and input supporting what surround you. Action evidence acting as if until the subconscious updates. All of this adds up to one truth. When your subconscious changes, you change. not at the surface level, not with hacks or quick fixes, but at the root. That's why discipline starts to feel natural. You don't force yourself to do the right thing. It becomes who you are. Confidence flows from identity, not for chasing approval. Your purpose stops being bred under distraction, and freedom becomes real. Because you're no longer a passenger to your program, you're the author. That's the shift. That's the payoff. Now, this is just the beginning. If the subconscious is the soil, then habits are the seeds. You can't reprogram yourself without also learning how to build new habits and break old ones. So if you want to continue this journey with me, make sure you subscribe. The next video will be all about the machines of habit formation, how to make change stick, and how finally stop repeating cycles you've outgrown. Until then, remember this: your subconscious is a battlefield. Most people never fight, but those who do, they win their freedom. See you in the next one. Till then, I hope the best for you, my friend. And if you like reading, you can find my Substack in the description. And if you like podcast, you can listen to my podcast, The B7, on Apple Podcast. See you in the next one. Peace.